how to run AI on your device, on your computer and on your telephone. So I put out a couple of videos last week talking about the increasing cost of artificial intelligence, especially with regard to Claude and Claude Code being potentially removed from the $20 a month plan. Basically, my thesis, the idea that I was putting forward is that AI is going to get more expensive, and the days of $20 or even $100 a month, all you can eat artificial intelligence are over. One comment that kept coming up again and again was, well, just run your own local models. And I pushed back initially. I was saying, yes, you can 100% do that, but that's not for everybody. And for many people, running your own large language model on your device seems incredibly technical. And then I thought, well, it's not really. It's quite easy, and all you need to do is install a piece of software, install a model, and then you are good to go. So what I'm going to do today in this presentation is walk you through how you can actually do it. I want to demystify this. I want to give you a large language model on your local machine 101, just to get you started. Now, if you run this kind of model on your machine already, you'll probably be watching this thinking, well, this is obvious. For a lot of people, it is not, and they're the people we're going to be talking to. So you can run AI on your local machine. You can run it on your phone, you can run it on your laptop, you can run it on a computer, you can buy a larger computer, something that's thousands of dollars to run higher end models. It is very possible, and it is not as technical as it seems. There's a few pieces of software which mean you can do it within a couple of clicks, and I'm going to be walking you through how to set them up. This is important because it gives us control. It gives us the ability to run models without having to worry about subscriptions. It gives us the ability to connect into our own tools and to do very interesting things based off our own devices. But there are drawbacks, there are limitations that we're going to be discussing in this presentation. But it is very doable, even if you are not technical. That's what I want to show you. So by the end of the stream, I want to have shown you what a local large language model is. We'll have a look at what your machine can run, so your personal machine, and then I'm going to walk you through the steps to actually getting one running today. So what is a local large language model? A large language model is something like GPT. We've got GPT 5.5 right now. We have Opus 4.7. These are well-known large language models. However, they work in the cloud. So they are sitting on servers in data centers, very expensive data centers. So when you go and use ChatGPT, you are going to write in your request. That request is going to be sent up to their servers. On their servers, they are running this large language model. The large language model GPT 5.5, for example, will process whatever you've put into ChatGPT and then send that information back. So it is in the cloud. That is why you pay $20 a month. That is why you pay $100 a month, because you are renting usage. So think of it like renting a car. You don't really own it. You are renting and you're paying for the usage every time you're using it. It's running on someone else's servers. Your prompt leaves your machine, goes to their machine, and then comes back. Okay? Then we have local large language models. This is like owning a car or even building your own car. That's maybe a step up, but it is possible. This is running on your computer. Nothing leaves your machine. So it is sitting on your machine. It is not sending data back and forth between the servers. And once you've downloaded everything, once you've downloaded the software, once you've downloaded the model, it's basically free to run. Now, you are paying for the electricity, but that's kind of it. So you're no longer paying the $20 a month plan. You're not paying $100 a month. You are instead running it on your computer, which is quite attractive. So why bother to do this though? So one of the first things is privacy. If you are worried about your data going back and forward between your computer and ChatGPT servers, for whatever reason, then running a local model makes sense. Now, this could be just because you are a very private person and you don't like the idea of a big tech corporation having access to all of that information. Very fair. It could also be because you are running a business and you are putting information into large language models that cannot reach their servers. These companies are telling us, oh, we're not training on your data, especially if you're on the higher plans. So a lot of people worry that they're sending their proprietary data, they're sending customer data up to the ChatGPT servers, and even though they're paying OpenAI for privacy, let's say on a business plan, they still worry that that is not going to be fully protected. So a private, fully compliant, local large language model that is not connected to the internet, that is not connected to third-party servers, is a way around that. So privacy. Cost. You are no longer paying for a subscription. You're no longer paying for API, so you're not paying per message cost, which means increasingly you can keep your costs down because the local models, the models that we can put on our machines, are getting very good. You are going to need a beefy rig, you're going to need a beefy computer to run it on. Once you have that though, you can actually run really good coding models, very advanced models locally without paying 100, 200 or more dollars per month. So it becomes a cost now versus cost later decision for you. Offline, it works without the internet. I was flying to Cyprus recently and I wanted to do some work on the plane, got out my laptop and realized, oh wait, I don't have the internet. I don't have access to Claude. I don't have access to AI. So if you don't want to use your brain and you want to continue having access to AI even without internet, offline models work when you run them locally. So you can run it on your laptop. You can increasingly run them on your phone, your iPhone, on your Android. That's really exciting part of artificial intelligence. It's also terrifying for OpenAI, terrifying for Anthropic, because as soon as consumers realize they can just run a decent model on their phone for free, do you think they're going to be paying $20 a month? And that's coming in the next couple of years. So very exciting, offline as well. Fourth reason, and I think this is a really good one, even if you don't care about privacy or cost or being able to run this offline, it's a really good learning experience to basically push yourself out of a comfort zone and realize you can deploy a large language model locally on your device. Just knowing how to do that, I think, is a great confidence boost, because a lot of people think this is very technical. I'm going to show you that it's not. It's very simple. So let's look at those tools. We're going to use either LLM Studio or something called Ollama. Let me pull up the web pages. This is LLM Studio. So LLM Studio, you're going to come to lmstudio.ai. You're going to click download. This will change depending on what device you're on. So for me, it's saying download for the Mac M series. For your reference, I'm currently on a Mac Mini. A Mac Mini Apple M4 Pro with 24 gigabytes of RAM. That's what I'm using right now. So it knows that I'm on an M4. M4? Yeah, not M5. I want an M5. I don't need it, but I want one. And you will download this. I think this is less than a gig. It's not very big, and it will put a piece of software onto your computer. The alternative is Ollama. So Ollama is generally via the command line interface, but they do have a new application which allows you to download. It's still going to work via the command line interface, but this just makes it a bit easier to download. I would recommend starting with LM Studio. I would recommend LM Studio over Ollama because it's a little more user-friendly. They're both very, very good. You get more flexibility, more power with Ollama, but I would say graduate to that later if you need to. For now, just start with LM Studio. It is super simple. I'm not going to pull it up on screen here because if I start running a local model and running a live stream to 3 or 4 different places at the same time, I fear that my Mac Mini might just explode. So instead, when you open up LM Studio, you're basically going to get this screen here. I'm going to go through this in detail in a moment. You're just going to select a model, and I'll tell you how we do that in a moment. And then you're going to have a chat interface, much like if you're using ChatGPT, much like if you're using Claude. You can then connect that up to other tools. You can do anything you want with it, but the basic interface is very simple indeed. So this makes it nice and easy to do. Download here. You're going to get this interface, which looks a bit scary, but it's going to walk you through installing a local model, choosing a model, and then you're going to have a chat interface like usual. So ignore this scary looking stuff here, just download it. Now, in terms of the model, I'm going to talk in detail about what models you can run, and it's going to depend on your system. But most of them come from Hugging Face, which is a third resource here. There are apparently 100,000 models on here. Nope, excuse me, 2 million plus models on here. Realistically, you're going to be looking at the top 10 or so, but there are many, many models here. So on Hugging Face, you can go to Models, and you can see we have, funnily enough, at the top right now is DeepSeek, which just came out a few days ago. Then we have Qwen, we have Kimi, K2.6. We have another Qwen here, DeepSeek again, Mimo. That's the Xiaomi one. So most of these will be Chinese models, not all of them. There's also the Llama models, and there are the GPT OSS, which is ChatGPT's open source, but most will be Chinese models. Oh, sorry, and there is Google Gemma, which I'm going to be talking about in a moment. All of this here looks terrifying. You might be looking at this being like, what is 826B? What what does all of this mean? What's Flash? What's 635B, A3B, GGUF? Like, don't worry, we're going to have a look at that, and most of the time you're not going to need to worry about it that much, especially for your first model that you're going to install. So the basic setup is, whether you're on your laptop, whether you're on your computer, you're going to download LM Studio. That's free. And then you are going to either use Hugging Face to find a model, or using the selector within LM Studio. That's probably going to be the simpler way to do it. And it actually walks you through that. These are some of the models you should be looking at right now. I would say for your first model, go ahead and install Gemma 4. So Gemma 4 is from Google. This means if you have any concerns about Chinese models, I know some people do, you're avoiding Qwen, DeepSeek, Kimi, Mimo, etc. Those are all Chinese models, and you are instead going with Gemma. Gemma 4 is a very lightweight model, and it will work on pretty much any device. I have it on my iPhone. If you can run it on an iPhone, you can run it on pretty much anything. And that's just going to give you a nice, simple, lightweight model. I think it's about 6 gigabytes, depending on which size of it you get. We'll talk about that in a moment, which will allow you to experiment and play around with your first model. So that would be my recommendation. There are new models all the time. If you think that the release schedule for closed source models, so ChatGPT, Claude, etc., if you think that that is hectic, the open source models are even more hectic, because there are so many labs pushing out product here. So go for Gemma. If you're watching this later, you're going to have to look at an alternative. This is going to be the biggest factor though. What can you actually run? This is going to depend on how much RAM you have in your computer. Now, when we're talking about how much memory you have, I'm not talking about how much kind of storage. So I don't care how many videos or documents you can put on. That's one type of memory. We are interested in something called RAM. Okay? So this is not your hard drive size. This is your RAM. Now, if you are on a Mac, if you click on the Apple logo in the top left and then click on About This Mac, it's going to tell you how much memory you have. Specifically on this device, I have 24 gigabytes. If you're on a different device, there are ways to find it out. Ask ChatGPT, and I think on Windows, I haven't used Windows for a long time, but it's going to be somewhere in system setting, computer, and there'll be a way to find out how much RAM is in there. Once you know how much RAM is in your computer, that is going to be the main factor for what model you can run. Now, this is a rule of thumb, but generally, you're going to look for something that has the same number of parameters minus 2. Okay, so all models have a parameter number. So if we go to Hugging Face, here we go. You can see DeepSeek at the top has 862 billion parameters. So I would need at least 800 gigs of RAM. I do not have 800 gigs of RAM. So there might be a quantized version of this, but to run the full version of this, I'd need 800 gigs of RAM. That's going to cost an awful lot of money to buy that much RAM. So let's look for something a bit more sensible. Like here, Qwen. So Qwen 3.6 is 28 billion parameters. So I need around 28 gigs of RAM, but I would need an extra 2 or so for running my operating system. So what you're generally looking for is this parameter number plus 2. That is a rule of thumb. It's not always going to hold, but it's good enough for now. So if I have a computer that has about 30 gigs of RAM, I should be able to run this. No problem. That is still too much for me because, as I said, I have 24 gigs of RAM inside of this Mac Mini. I'd need something beefier. I'd need a Mac Studio or something that's purpose-built. So we're going to look around. We're going to ignore Kimi K.2, K2.6, which has 1.1 trillion. Okay, we're going to actually have to filter, I think. So we're going to filter by, here we go. So in main, there's filter here. I'm going to scroll this down to, let's say, 32B. So here we go. Now we have some that are a bit more realistic for me on this particular computer. So 2B, this is a very small model. This is a flash model. 8 billion here, half a billion. That's a very small model. 27 billion, 16 billion, etc. These are all things I could run. 27 billion here. So this is Gemma 4, which is the model that I referenced. This is 27 billion parameters. I've forgotten. Sorry, I've got 24 gigabytes, so I won't be able to run this either. I'm actually going to have to scroll this down to here. 24. There we go. So I can run this Gemma for E4B This is an 8 billion parameter model. So this, for example, I could run. Now, obviously, there's going to be a little bit of trial and error here. You're going to download various different models, try them out, and you're going to be testing which ones work for you. And it's going to be dependent on how much RAM you have. This leads us to our first problem with local models. RAM's very expensive. If you want to upgrade your machine and put more RAM into your machine, 32 gigs of RAM this is DDR4, so I'd rather get some DDR5. There it is, nearly 500 euros for 32 gigs of RAM. You can see if you want to run a large model, this is going to get very expensive very quickly. And we have RAM shortages right now because of artificial intelligence, because of the training and the data centers, which means that this is getting more and more pricey. There is also something called quantization. The simplest way to think about this, I know it's not accurate and people are going to come at me for this, but it is a form of compressing the model. So you're compressing the model so it uses less memory while maintaining most of the quality. However, when you compress something, you're always going to lose a bit of fidelity. That is just how it goes. When you're compressing video, when you're compressing images, you're compressing audio, you're always going to lose some quality. But this is how we get around the fact that most people don't have 1,000 bytes of RAM, and instead they need to use quantization in order to compress the models and allow us to run advanced models but on smaller amounts of RAM. So this is going to change often. What you don't actually need to worry about it too much because you're mainly looking at this parameter number here, but do know that this is the method by which you can access more powerful models on a less powerful machine, something called quantization. The good thing for local LLMs is that the methods of quantization are getting better. So we are getting better at compressing these models and maintaining the fidelity, maintaining the quality of the larger models. So we have a race right now where RAM is getting more and more expensive, models are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We saw some of these models had 1 trillion parameters. But quantization is getting better as well. So we're able to do more with less. So this is the big tension in local LLMs right now. So you start with what can you run? That's going to be your first check here. What can I run? How much RAM do I have? Then you can think, what's it for? Do I just want to chat with it? Am I coding? Am I reasoning? And then you're going to choose your family, and then you're going to choose the quantization to make sure it fits within your computer. So generally, it is better to run a smaller model well than a bigger model badly. You can technically run much larger models, but the time it takes to send and receive answers is absolutely agonizing. And especially when you're used to using something like ChatGPT or Claude, which has very minimal latency, using a much large language model than you should on your local device is incredibly impractical. So go for something that you can actually fit, and you're going to have a much better time of it. So this is the interface that you will see within LM Studio. There's going to be a direct option to pick your models and to download them. The main thing you're going to be looking for is here. You can just see it, this green bar here. As you are going through the different models, it will say to you, nope, you cannot run this model. Because LM Studio is installed on your device, it knows how much RAM you have. It knows what kind of model you're going to be able to run. And if you have this green bar here, which says something like, hey, full GPU offload possible, that is telling you, okay, cool, you should be good with this model. So go ahead and download it. So I would say this is the simplest way. Rather than going around hugging face, trying to find a model, hoping for the best, just do it inside of LM Studio. Click the download button and it's going to download and install it on your device. That's kind of it. But all you need to do is download LM Studio, run through the setup process. It will tell you what model you can work with. It will download, and then you'll be able to run a local model. That's kind of it. It's not that technical. So I highly, highly recommend just doing it now. If you're watching this video at a desktop right now, you can just go ahead with this. So where's this going? I think if you are a hobbyist, if you're somebody who's just interested in artificial intelligence, you're not necessarily going to be using local large language models on your computer every single day. Go ahead and experiment with this just so you know that you can. There are some real limitations though if you're putting this into production. The main one is going to be RAM. As I showed you, RAM prices are going up, GPU prices are going up. It's going to be increasingly more expensive to run these models, especially as these models are getting larger and larger and larger and larger. There is a point when it doesn't really matter. If these models are good enough for general chat, and they're able to fit on our phone, they're able to fit on our desktop, they're able to fit on our laptop, we're able to use them for general chat as a ChatGPT replacement, yeah, sure, maybe it's not going to be able to give you state-of-the-art answers, but do you care? Are you going to be solving math problems? Are you going to be doing deep chains of reasoning? Are you producing PhD level research on the day-to-day? No, most of us aren't. Most of us are just using it for chat. We're using it to bounce ideas off, and local models are increasingly going to be able to do that for us. The really exciting part of this is something called Edge AI, which is basically AI that's deployed on edge devices. So it's not on a cloud service, we're not running our own servers, but we are running the AI on our phones. That's where all of this is going. You can do it yourself right now with applications like this, Locally AI. This is the one that I personally use on my iPhone. It runs AI models locally on iPhone, iPad, and Mac, and you can install things like Gemma. So I have Gemma 4 running on my iPhone, and it works pretty well, and it works a treat. So I think if you are a hobbyist, if you're wanting to learn a bit more about AI, absolutely do this on your computer, just so you can see that it is quite easy to do and you are not intimidated by it. If you are trying to put this into production, if you are trying to save on your development costs, because maybe you're spending thousands a month on API credits with Claude, then this is possible, but it's going to require a lot more thought because you're going to need a beefy machine. So you need to work out if buying that machine for $10,000 or more is going to be worthwhile compared to your API subscription costs over time. And keeping in mind that state-of-the-art models are always going to be slightly better. They're always about 6 months ahead, and then those improvements basically come out into the open source community. So obviously, if you're at that kind of level, thinking about whether you should replace your subscriptions for coding, for programming, this is all old hat. You know this stuff already. For everyone else who is just getting started, who just wants to try this out, try it out, but don't necessarily expect to replace your ChatGPT or Claude subscription right away, especially if you are coding, because to do that, you're going to need a beefy computer. And at that point, you need to do the cost-benefit analysis of whether it's worth dropping $5,000, $10,000 on a new machine just to save $20 or even $100 a month for the next year. Just go and download LM Studio, stick a model on it. I would recommend Gemma 4 just to get started. It's lightweight and it does the job. Play around with it, and then by the end of the day, you can say, yeah, I use local LLMs, because you will have. It's not that hard. So have fun with that and tell me how it goes in the comments down below. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm going to finish up for today. As always, the newsletter will have the tidied up version of the live today. It's going to be on YouTube as well, probably morning, and the written version, including all of the resources, all of the graphics, etc. You can get the slide deck. Everything is going to be available here on aiwithkyle.com, so make sure you are signed up. As well, there's a whole bunch of free courses on there. Many. There's over 100. We used to charge $107 for that, but that's now free. And tools, AI news, etc. Everything is available on aiwithkyle.com. So make sure you are signed up. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you